Good afternoon and welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for joining us. It's obviously nice and cloudy there in Washington, D.C. Bright and sunny skies here in the southeast United States of America as it's 12:03 Monday, February 16th. Of course, it's President's Day across America, a day to celebrate the birthdays of President Washington and Lincoln. But of course, in some circles today, it's a day for all 47 presidents. Now, according to govinfo.gov. Of course, President's Day is observed the third Monday in February, again, recognizing George Washington's birthday and honoring the history of the American presidency. In the late 1870s, Senator Stephen Wallace Dorsey proposed the idea of adding Washington's birth date, February 22nd, to the four existing bank holidays previously approved in 1870. So then it was signed into law on January 31st, 1879 by President Rutherford B. Hayes, and then the law was implemented in 1880 and applied only to district federal workers. Talking about President's Day right here. Washington's birthday had become the first federal holiday to single out an individual's birth date, and the honor lasted for less than a century. So in 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Bill, which moved a number of federal holidays to Mondays. In 1971, with the implementation of the Uniform Monday Holiday Law, the third Monday in February became the date on which Washington's birthday is celebrated. Some reformers had wanted to change the name of the holiday as well to President's Day in honor of both Lincoln and Washington. But that proposal was rejected by Congress, and the holiday remained officially Washington's birthday. While the name change has never been authorized by Congress to President's Day, of course, it has gained a strong hold on the public consciousness to honor all U.S. presidents and is generally used on calendars and advertising and even by many government agencies. So if you're just joining us, we just went over a little bit of the history of President's Day. It's really called Washington's birthday officially, but widely known, of course, as President's Day. As that live camera making a move there in Washington, D.C., you can see the crane moving, you can see the camera moving, and the clouds slowly moving above 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Speaking of the presidents and President Trump, let's go to one of his recent press gaggles. This is the most recent one that we have on file from the White House. This was on Friday, February 13th, when he was taking off from D.C. to go to Mar-a-Lago. Of course, we're going to go through the news of the day, the 24/7 news cycle, what's on tap, all the things in just a little bit. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side. Let's go to President Trump from February 13th.
So we just had very good financial numbers, very low inflation. We brought costs way down, and the numbers were surprising, except to me, they weren't surprising. So the inflation numbers that just announced, as you know, are way down, and we have it back in track. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country, and now we have very modest inflation, which is what you want to have.
Mr. President, are you anticipating? Thank you, Mr. President. Why hasn't the FBI taken over the Nancy Guthrie case as the lead investigator? Do you have any updates on how that's going?
Well, they took it over originally. You know, it was a local case originally, and they didn't want to let go of it, which is fine. It's up to them. It's really up to the community. But ultimately, when the FBI got involved, I think progress has been made. Complicated case.
Mr. President, are you anticipating cutting a deal with Democrats to end the potential shutdown for DHS?
We'll see what happens. We always have to protect our law enforcement. It's very important. They've done a great job. Remember, they've taken out hundreds of thousands of criminals out of our country, and we have the best crime numbers we've ever had, and everywhere. Murder numbers, crime numbers of any kind. We have the best numbers. We've taken out hundreds of thousands of criminals out of our country. We have to protect our law enforcement.
Are you talking to any Democrats?
Mr. President, are you still considering land strikes on Mexico, Colombia, and Venezuela?
What about it?
Land strikes, are you planning?
Don't worry about it.
Mr. President, do you still have a veto on Nouri al-Maliki to become the Iraqi Prime Minister?
We're looking at a Prime Minister. We're going to see what's going to happen. We've got some ideas on it. But in the end, everybody needs the U.S. Everybody needs us.
Are you planning to hold anyone accountable
lying about his relationship with
down in El Paso? The second aircraft carrier that you decided to send Talk about why you made that choice.
Well, in case we don't make a deal, we'll need it.
Are you
If we don't have a deal, we'll need it. If we have a deal, we could cut it short. It'll be leaving very soon. We have one out there that just arrived. If we need it, we have it ready. A very big force.
Has there been any progress in Ukraine negotiations? Do you still demand Zelensky has to hold elections before summer?
Zelensky's going to have to get moving. Russia wants to make a deal, and Zelensky's going to have to get moving. Otherwise, he's going to miss a great opportunity. He has to move.
Mr. President, are you going to hold anyone
Mr. President, are you personally involved in these negotiations over DHS funding, and where do you see room for compromise?
Well, but you have to remember, if you look at Homeland Security, if you look at what they've done, if you look at what ICE has done at Border Patrol, we have the safest border in the history of our country. Nobody comes in other than if they come in legally. If you remember just a little while ago, a year and a half ago, for a 4-year period, they allowed 25 million people in our country. Many of these people are murderers and drug dealers, a horrible thing. We've gotten a lot of them out. We now have the best records in the history of our country on crime. It was just announced our crime numbers are the best in 125 years. So I am here to protect law enforcement and our great police and ICE and Border Patrol and everybody. I'm here to protect them because they're protecting us. And the job they've done is incredible.
Do you believe Prime Minister Netanyahu will receive a pardon?
I do think so, yes.
Do you still have confidence in Kristi Noem, Mr. President, despite the reports of chaos?
We have low crime numbers, the answer is.
Duffy's handling of the airspace closure over El Paso. Are you pleased with Sean Duffy's handling of the airspace closure over El Paso?
The way it happened. People learn, people learn.
Can you touch on Greenland, on European leaders' hypocrisy? Greenland doesn't want Europe controlling them anymore. What's your message to them, to those European leaders' hypocrisy?
Greenland's going to want us, but we get along very well with Europe. We'll see how it all works out. We're negotiating right now for Greenland.
Mr. President, do you think the cartels are at all involved in Nancy Guthrie's case or another nation state potentially?
Can't say that yet. It's a little bit early, but it's somebody either knew what they were doing very well or they were rank amateurs. Either way, it's not a good situation.
What is your message to European leaders in Munich Security Conference?
Great relationship with them. If it wasn't for me, they'd be paying 2% and not paying. Instead, they're paying 5% and they're paying. We have a very good relationship with NATO.
How confident are you that our negotiations with Iran will be successful?
I think they'll be successful, and if they're not, it's going to be a bad day for Iran. Very bad.
Mr. President,
are you actively talking with Democrats right now about a DHS shutdown? How painful do you expect that to be?
But, we have to protect law enforcement. ICE has done a phenomenal job. Border Patrol, we have a closed border for the first time in history. We have to protect law enforcement, our police, our Border Patrol, ICE, and others in law enforcement. And I'm very much, look, I know what they want. I know what they can live with. The Democrats have gone crazy. They're radical left lunatics. That's why their cities are so unsafe. The blue cities are the cities that are unsafe. So we have to protect our law enforcement.
Mr. President, you just lifted sanctions on Venezuelan oil. What are the next steps, and when are you going to host Delcy
Well, we have a very good relationship with the president of Venezuela. As you know, we're working together very closely. We have our big oil companies going in. They're going to be taking out the oil and selling the oil for a lot of money, and Venezuela is going to get a big part of that money. And the relationship we have right now with Venezuela is, I would say, a 10.
Mr. President,
the biggest beneficiary will be the people of Venezuela.
On Venezuela, will you be recognizing Delcy Rodriguez's government as the official government of Venezuela?
Well, right now we have done that. We're dealing with them. And really, right now, they've done a great job. Delcy's done a very, very good job, and the relationship is strong. The oil is coming out, and a lot of money is being paid for oil by other nations, and we're taking care of it. We're refining it, and we're the only one that has the capability to refine it. Right now, the relationship with Venezuela is as good as it can be.
When are you planning to visit Venezuela, sir?
I'm going to make a visit to Venezuela. Well, we haven't decided. Are you from Venezuela?
From Colombia, sir. We share a border with Venezuela.
We just had a good meeting with you.
With the president of Colombia.
President, on the Munich Security Conference, what is your message to Europe and to the leaders?
The only message is we have a great relationship with NATO. We're a very powerful part of NATO. The people that are the heads of the countries, the various countries that we're talking about, they're all friends of mine.
Mr. President, you just mentioned the meeting with the president of Colombia, Mr. President.
Congress back in town?
Meet with the North Korean Kim Jong-un this year.
Mr. President, do you have a deadline for Iran, Mr. President? Do you have a deadline for Iran? Do you have any deadline for Iran?
I do, yeah.
Thank you. Mr. President, Rwanda just violated the peace agreement. What are you going to do about it? You told me last time that there will be consequences. They continue to kill a lot of Congolese people in DRC.
We'll take a look at it.
Are you happy with the current situation in Syria after the deal that you brokered?
The president of Syria is doing a very good job. He's unifying the country. We're very happy with the job he's doing. He's doing a great job for the people of Syria. He's unifying the country. Thank you.
I want to show you the evidence.
Come on, Brian, let's go.
Look what they're doing. Step back. First of all, pretty strong economic numbers going into 26. Stock market 50,000. You said it could go to 100,000 plus.
Great numbers today on inflation.
I was going to say, what's the outlook for the remainder of 26? Do you think?
I think we're going to have 100,000 by the time I leave office and at the end of my term. I think we're going to be at 100,000, the Dow. And if you remember, when I was first elected, everybody said, if I got it to 50,000, the Dow, or 7,000 with the S&P, if I got it to 50,000 with the Dow, that would be amazing. That would be in 4 years from then, from the election. I got it at 50,000 the last day of my first year. So I'm pretty early. I think we have a great chance of doing very substantially higher numbers. The country is doing well. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world by far. And the inflation numbers that just came out moments ago were actually incredible. Prices are way down. Inflation is way down. Far lower than anyone thought could have happened in a period of 1 year.
Mr. President,
to show you. I have a lot to show you.
Are there any concessions you're willing to make with ICE, about ICE or about immigration enforcement?
It's in favor of our law enforcement. ICE has done an amazing job. We've taken up hundreds of thousands of horrible criminals, including murders. We had 11,888 murders. A lot of them have been found and removed from our country. We have the lowest crime number. We have the best crime numbers we've had, you won't believe this one, 125 years. From the year 1900, we have the best crime numbers that we've had in 125 years. I have a great loyalty to ICE, to Border Patrol, to our police, to, frankly, our firemen, etc. Thank you.
Has the economy turned a corner?
I think so. We're at 50,000. We're at 7,000 with S&P. And if you remember, and they can say it any way they want, they said if Trump, by the end of his term, 4 years, would get the number of Dow number to 50,000, it would be a miracle. It would be I got it in 1 year to 50,000. Think of it, in 1 year. And I got S&P, which is actually harder, to 7,000, which they said would be impossible to do even within 4 years. And I got it in 1 year.
Do you think
The economy is doing unbelievable. We right now have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Do you think Democrats are president?
All right, so President Trump speaking to the press on Friday, February 13th. Of course, today, President's Day, February 16th. Let's go to a few of our sponsors before we dive into the news of the day and what we've been tracking over the weekend and into this week. As you see there, a huge sale. Our sponsor, All Family Pharmacy, is running this big President's Day sale, 47% off. some of their most requested medications: ivermectin, mebendazole, hydroxychloroquine, NAD+, and the GLP weight loss medication. So this is a huge discount for medications that a lot of families consider essential to have on hand. So the truth is, most people wait until they need something, and that's the worst time to start trying to get it. This sale gives you a chance to stock up while pricing is low, and once it ends, the price goes right back up. So All Family Pharmacy makes the process simple. You order online, you fill out a quick medical form, and one of their licensed doctors reviews your request, writes the prescription, and then your medication ships straight to your door. So there's no coupon required, but the sale's only running until Tuesday, February 17th, which is, of course, tomorrow. So don't wait. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Grab the 47% off this President's Day sale before it ends. You can see all the information right there. Let's go to our next sponsor here on right side. Let's go to angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. Of course, if you use the RSBN promo code all the way at the end of the checkout, you're going to get a percentage off, a good discount on some great products here. Angelpaste.com, of course, out of Spring, Texas, longtime sponsor here with some great skincare products. You have the lotions, you have mists, you have all the things. You can get it all there at angelpaste.com. Again, go ahead and peruse the site. I know Valentine's Day just happened over the weekend, so maybe a gift in the near future or just, keeping up with your various skincare products. So angelpaste.com, great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, let's go to the few stories that we've been looking at here. Of course, one of the main stories that we've been seeing, and we're going to go through a lot of the 24/7 news cycle stories in a second, but if we want free and fair elections, we have to pass the Save America Act. We're one step closer to photo ID and proof of citizenship in order to vote in federal elections. That's not a big deal. That's common sense. It's a big deal if we get it passed because a lot of countries out there already have this in place. Let's go to President Trump on Truth Social saying, quote, "The Democrats refuse to vote for voter ID or citizenship, and the reason is very simple. They want to continue to cheat in elections. This was not what our founders desired. I have searched the depths of legal arguments not yet articulated or vetted on this subject and will be presenting an irrefutable one in the very near future. There will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not." Very strong words there by the president. Let's read that again here. There will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not. Also, the people of our country are insisting on citizenship and no mail-in ballots. So basically proof of citizenship and no mail-in ballots with exceptions for military, disability, illness, or travel. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And of course, on the other side of the aisle, they're making this issue about, personal and partisan politics. This is simply about free and fair elections, no matter what people like the governor of Pennsylvania had to say over the past few days. And according to the White House, specifically on saveamerica.gov, this is a new site that's out there that you can check out. So when you type in saveamerica.gov, it goes to the White House website. And this is what I like about common sense and just telling it like it is, because this is what it says there. American citizens and only American citizens should decide American elections. The Save America Act is a common sense bipartisan bill that would simply require a valid ID before registering to vote in a federal election, proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. Meantime, the Democrats, including the Brennan Center, which is a left-leaning place, of course, I found this on factcheck.org, has also warned that people who have changed their names, such as married women, may be blocked from registering to vote because of discrepancies between their ID and their birth certificate. Representative Chip Roy of Texas called the idea that married women would be prevented from registering to vote, quote, absurd, armchair speculation, end quote. In a statement emailed to factcheck.org on February 20th, Roy said the legislation provides a myriad of ways for people to prove citizenship and explicitly directs states to establish a process for individuals to register to vote if there are any discrepancies in their proof of citizenship documents due to something like a name change. Meantime, as you know, the president is calling on Republicans and Democrats to pass the Save America Act. Requirement for voter ID to vote should be something that no American should oppose. If you want to register to vote in the United States, you have to be a citizen in the United States. The Save America Act will direct states to remove non-citizens from the voter rolls. America lags behind other nations in enforcing basic and necessary election protections. At 1:30 this afternoon, RSBN host Robert McNeely will join us over the phone to give us a breakdown for what's next for the Save America Act. In the meantime, of course, looking live there at the camera, moving back and forth a bit out there in the cloudy nation's capital. Wow. Let's take a look at some of the 24/7 news stories that we're following. Today is day 3 of the partial government shutdown as Democrats are holding out until they get their demands once again. They want their demands met to reform immigration and customs enforcement within the Department of Homeland Security. And as someone said this morning, leftists want to vote like a liberal, but live like a conservative with all of the protections. Also, other stories we're following on Saturday, February 14th, of course, Valentine's Day, the Department of Justice released more Epstein files, which includes dozens of names. We'll dive into a few of the names that we see with some of those details in a bit. Meanwhile, we're keeping our eye on the Middle East as our military is in position to possibly make a move in Iran, depending how talks go with the Islamic Republic. So we're keeping tabs on those kind of stories. Meantime, shifting gears now as it's 12:24 Monday, February 16th. The only thing on the president's schedule today, to return from Florida to that White House right there. So the president and the first lady will return to the White House today. We have a number of videos to get to, a number of stories to talk about. Thanks again for live streaming in with us. Hopefully you have off today. If not, I hear you. I've worked Christmas, Thanksgiving. I've worked a lot of holidays over the years in media, but you know what? At the end of the day, thank God for a job, but also thank God for being on the right side of history with you guys, most of you that are watching that are just supporters of the basics of what we're all here for. We the people, you know, a government of, by, and for the people, the Constitution, all the things. Let's shift gears a little bit, though. Since it's a holiday, I thought, why not talk about this NASA thing that's going on. NASA's SpaceX crew, this Crew 12 mission to the International Space Station is set to launch next month. So why don't we take a live look at Artemis 2. This is from Kennedy Space Center on the Atlantic coast in Florida. Getting ready to take off. That's not going to happen until March, but here's a video from NASA about the mission.
We explore because curiosity runs through our veins. It's the age-old question of what's out there.
We do research on the International Space Station because it provides a very unique and novel environment that we cannot replicate here on Earth.
Ignition, liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX.
Crew 12 will live and work on board the International Space Station for a duration of 8 months.
We will be doing a wealth of scientific experiments, ranging from physiology and medical experiments to radiation, material science type experiments, deploying small satellites, you name it. Really, every aspect of science is represented in the work that we do on the International Space Station.
It's important to push the boundaries of what's possible. If we're just satisfied with what we have, we're never going to create the technology to make our lives better.
And you'll be able to watch that launch right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. There's not a date set yet, but it's going to happen in March. Pretty cool stuff for those of us out there that like the whole United States Space Force thing, NASA, SpaceX, all the things. We're going to talk about Space Force in just a second. Before we do, let's go to a few of our sponsors, including mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, a lot of great products there by a great man of God and a great person that overcame it all and is running for governor in Minnesota. Of course, Mike Lindell, and MyPillow, a great company as well, with all these awesome products, including the mattress and topper sale that you see right there for a really good price. Use the promo code RSBN as the promo code there, and just check out the site. If you haven't checked it out in a while, go ahead and give it a try today. mypillow.com/RSBN. Peruse the site. A lot of great products there. I know I've said that a few times, but my family and I, we have a lot of them. I know a number of you probably do too, as Mike Lindell, the best marketer out there when it comes to advertising as well. So mypillow.com/RSBN. And speaking of Right Side, if you'd like to donate to the network, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, well, if you'd like to follow me on Truth Social, it's at Matthew Alvarez. And then also on X, it's at Matthew US Media. Of course, you could follow Right Side Broadcasting Network at RSBN on Truth Social and at RSB Network on X. All right, so the United States Space Force just put out a video for its year in review. And of course, we're going to dive back into more political news and that kind of thing in just a minute. But, you know, again, a holiday, it's thought we'd kind of bring some attention to the United States Space Force. And in fact, if you wonder, I don't know if you can see the pin here, it's not red, white, and blue. Well, it's definitely not another country. Trust me on that. You know what I'm saying? This is the United States Space Force pin. I think it's awesome. It's just cool to have something like that. You can get it too. Just look online and, you know, you'll find it. Anyway, let's go to the video about the United States Space Force for their year in review.
"2025 was a year of tremendous growth in how we develop our Guardians. We graduated our first class of Guardians from the Officer Training Course, elite Guardians, ready to meet the demands of the Joint Force. Over 700 Guardians from 55 locations around the globe faced off against realistic threats during Resolute Space 25. When the President ordered airstrikes on strategic targets in the Middle East, Space Force was there, providing precision navigation, critical intelligence, life-saving missile warning. As the strategic landscape has evolved, so has the Space Force, from the legacy Space Operations Command into its new form, Combat Forces Command. Evolving our space operations crews into combat units of action. We are vital to our nation's security and essential to the American way of life. And it's our Guardians who make that a reality. Semper Supra.
All right, so let's shift from the United States Space Force and we'll head over to the U.S. Navy as we get ready to celebrate, of course, our nation's 250th birthday later this year. The United States Navy has been there every step of the way. Let's take a look at clip 6.
For 250 years, the United States Navy has protected our nation, but it's also shaped the way we live, work, and connect through engineering and science. At the heart of this innovation is the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory, or NRL. Let's look at 5 everyday technologies made possible by Navy research. In the 1960s, NRL launched the Timation satellite, proving atomic clocks in space could pinpoint location on Earth. That breakthrough helped build the GPS we now use every day. NRL's early battery research in the 1970s helped lead to lithium-ion technology. This technology proved to be an important power source for the Navy's unmanned systems, but also powering your phone, laptop, and electric car. NRL created the U.S.'s first radar system in 1939. Today, radar keeps planes flying safely, tracks storms, and yes, even clocks your speed on the highway. NRL developed radio frequency over fiber technology, creating a secure, high-speed way to move information and connect military platforms and systems around the world, laying the groundwork for high-speed internet and global video calls. NRL launched its first in a line of scientific satellites to understand the space environment and change the way the Navy communicates and operates. This research evolved into satellite television, international calls, and broadband around the globe. From the depths of the ocean to the far reaches of space. NRL continues to lead in discovery, developing technologies that serve the fleet and the world. As the Navy celebrates 250 years, we honor the science and engineering that moves us forward. NRL, advancing science and technology for the Navy and our nation.
Pretty cool to see some of the inside baseball, both at the United States Space Force, the United States Navy, of course. Thankful for the 6 military branches of our United States military. As, again, if you're just joining us, we were going over a lot of the news in the 24/7 news cycle. One of those stories is keeping our eye on the quote-unquote armada that President Trump talked about out there in the Middle East. What will happen in Iran? Will it be talks and to peace, or will there be something more? We'll see. Monitoring that. Also, meantime, over the weekend, the Department of Justice released more Epstein files, which included redacted names of some of the most well-known people on Earth. This is just simple facts that we're seeing out there from the DOJ. Attorney Aaron Parnas scooped everyone with a lot of the evidence and receipts on just this letter from the Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy AG Todd Blanche have submitted a 6-page letter to the House and Senate Judiciary Committees under Section 3 of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which requires a full accounting of redactions made and a list of every government official and quote-unquote politically exposed person named in the released files. So according to Attorney Aaron Parnas, the full list reads like a who's who of global power. So if we look at U.S. presidents and family, we see Donald Trump, Melania Trump, Ivanka Trump, Joe Biden, Jill Biden, Hunter Biden, Ashley Biden, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Chelsea Clinton, J.D. Vance, George Bush Jr., Jeb Bush. U.S. politicians and officials from Merrick Garland to Adam Schiff to Cory Booker, Lindsey Graham, Dick Cheney, Susan Rice. Foreign leaders and royals, Benjamin Netanyahu, Ehud Barak, Prince Harry, Prince Philip. Business and tech, Bill Gates, Melinda Gates, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. Celebrities like Beyonce, Cher, Mick Jagger, Barbara Streisand, Marilyn Monroe. Oprah Winfrey is not listed, but notable absences also include media and legal. Alan Dershowitz, Jeff Zucker, he used to run CNN. So the DOJ states that no records were withheld on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity, and that the only redactions made were to protect victim identities, shield CSAM, and preserve active investigation. So unredacted versions remain available for congressional inspection. Now, this is the first time the federal government has officially cataloged every powerful name that surfaced across the 3 million pages of the Epstein files. The letter is now in the hands of both parties. Again, all according to this ex-post from attorney Aaron Parnas, who also other reputable sources out there have reposted as well. Obviously, X is a place where you go. Truth Social, the same when it comes to finding out what's going on out there. It's evidence and receipts. It's not me. It's not anybody else. I didn't come up with that. This is all from the DOJ. Now, according to South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace, the DOJ is not compliant with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, saying on social media, quote, again, this is from Nancy Mace, Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina, quote, despite the memo released by the DOJ last night, which this was from Saturday, not all the Epstein files have been released. She wrote on social media, and the excuses provided for not releasing all the files will not hold up in a court of law. This isn't going away until people go to jail. Those are all quotes. Those are all words that I just read to you with a screen behind me that I took some notes over the weekend and saw all of this online. And, again, you have a choice as a journalist. You do free and fair press, honest journalism, and report on what's going on, or you do kind of hide and let things slide? Well, that's not the job of a journalist. You're supposed to report on what's going on with evidence and receipts, which I'm doing, again, from the DOJ. And then, of course, this attorney, Parnas, who got a hold of the letter written by Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi about the Epstein files. If that makes no sense to you, I think what we have to do is start getting more context and start really digging in and getting reliable sources of information. Here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we're only going with evidence and receipts, and there are times where we do commentary and opinion, which any news network on television, any newspaper has ever done as well. It's called an op-ed, right? Opinion editorial. Outside of that, from the core of what we do here at the network and in conservative media is all about God, family, country, right? All about truth, justice, and the American way and common sense. I mean, you've grown to trust this network. You've grown to trust conservative media because we are people just like you guys. We're not bought and paid for by some huge woke corporation that says you can't say this and you can't say that. And I think the truth is what sets us free, and the truth is what I want it, you want it, so let's go with it. Let's see what's happening. Now, you can go ahead and check out all of what I said, where I'm reporting from as well, if you'd like. All I have to do is scrub back a little bit and check it out. In the meantime, let's do this. Let's shift gears. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to get back into some more of the news we're tracking, some more videos right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely.
Always good to grab a sale there at mypillow.com. All right, 12:42 Eastern. Once again, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for live streaming on this President's Day. We went over some of the history of President's Day, of course, dating back to Washington's birthday, and of course added Lincoln's birthday and all the ins and outs of Technically, it's still called Washington's birthday within Congress. There's never been an approved name change to President's Day. We'll get back to that maybe in a little bit as it's 12:42 Eastern time. But what I do know as well is that we're less than half a year from our country's 250th birthday. Let's take a look. I don't know about you, but I just love seeing the word freedom. It means so much, right? Do you know that there's also a freedom plane flying with various documents from our founding across the country to possibly a city near you? Same thing with the Freedom Truck. So the Freedom Truck, the Freedom Plane, go ahead and check it out online, see if it's coming to a city near you. In the meantime, we're looking live there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Of course, President Trump will be headed back from Florida to D.C. today. And then, of course, the work week technically starting tomorrow, as today is a federal holiday. All of this brought to you by some great sponsors, including Rumble Wallet. So you may have seen the conversations happening online lately. Censorship, unfortunately, is back, and it's happening everywhere. Platforms controlling narratives and pushing the stuff they don't want us to see. So we need to fight back in this information area and in finance. Rumble's the only company that has stood the test of time and deserves our support. On one side, Rumble is challenging big tech censorship, but now on the other side, they have introduced something that will give us protection from the big banks shutting us off. So banks can cancel our accounts and freeze our cards. So that's why Rumble has launched what you see there, Rumble Wallet. It's a wallet that no one can cancel and a wallet that supporters can use to instantly tip creators like us without any middleman taking cuts. So with Rumble Wallet, you can control your money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company, not even Rumble can touch it. It's yours and only yours. Yours to protect your future and family. So you can buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin and Tether Gold in one place. So Tether Gold is real gold on the blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. It's not only a wallet to buy and save, but it also allows you to support your favorite creators by easily tipping them with the click of a button. There will be no fees when you tip our channel or others, and we actually receive the tip instantly, unlike other platforms where we have to wait for a payout. Support our show and other creators by clicking the tip button on the Rumble channel. It's wallet.rumble.com. So, of course, on RSBN, on our Rumble channel, you can do that. Wallet.rumble.com. And you can download the Rumble wallet today, open an account, and step away from the big banks for good. Wallet.rumble.com, or search Rumble Wallet in the App Store. It's a great new sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All Family Pharmacy has this huge sale, and it's going to stop tomorrow. Let's just put it that way. Let's just really look at the number, 47% off. This is not a sale that I've seen here at the network with All Family Pharmacy at this extent. So our sponsor, All Family Pharmacy, is running a big President's Day sale. As you see, 47% off some of their most requested medications: ivermectin, mebendazole, hydroxychloroquine, NAD+, and the GLP weight loss medication. It's a huge discount for medications that, a lot of families out there consider essential to have on hand. And the truth is, most people wait until they need something, and that's the worst time to start trying to get it. So the sale gives you a chance to stock up while pricing is low. And Once it ends, the price goes right back up. And All Family Pharmacy makes the process simple. You order online, you fill out a quick medical form, and one of their licensed doctors reviews your request, then from there can write a prescription. Your medication ships straight to your door. There's no coupon required, but the sale here is only running until tomorrow, Tuesday, February 17th. So don't wait. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Grab the 47% off President's Day sale before it ends. Let's talk about that quickly again. For those of you just joining us, let's go over it. Why not? You know, it's a holiday. Some people have off, but probably a lot of people do. Maybe not. I don't. That's okay, though. We're here. President's Day across America, right? A day to celebrate the birthdays of President Washington and Lincoln, but in some circles, of course, today is a day for all 47 presidents. So every year we've been, some people have talked about this. You might already know this information, but to those that don't, let's look at some information here. Of course, President's Day is observed the third Monday in February, again, recognizing George Washington's birthday and honoring the history of the American presidency. So in the late 1870s, Senator Stephen Wallace Dorsey proposed the idea of adding Washington's birth date, February 22nd, to the 4 existing bank holidays previously approved in 1870. Signed into law on January 31st, 1879 by President Rutherford B. Hayes, the law was implemented in 1880 and applied only to district federal workers. So Washington's birthday had become the first federal holiday to single out an individual's birth date, and the honor lasted for less than a century because in 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Bill, which moved a number of federal holidays to Mondays. In 1971, bear with me, in 1971, with the implementation of the Uniform Monday Holiday Law, the third Monday in February became the date on which Washington's birthday is celebrated. Some reformers had wanted to change the name of the holiday as well to President's Day in honor of both Lincoln and Washington, but that proposal was rejected by Congress and the holiday remained officially Washington's birthday. So while the name change of President's Day has never been authorized by Congress, it has, of course, gained a strong hold on the public's consciousness to honor all U.S. presidents and is generally used on calendars and advertising and even by many government agencies. So today's federal holiday is Washington's birthday, but we call it President's Day. Anyway, all right, so 12:49. Let's go to some more of our videos here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And coming up at 1:30, by the way, RSBN host Robert McNeely will join us via telephone to talk about the Save America Act, where it stands now. We know it's going to the Senate, but the ins and outs, the inside baseball, the numbers, just to break it down simply for us so we can understand how the heck this thing needs to get through the Senate and to the president's desk right there and signed. As you guys may know, this is all about voter ID, specifically photo ID and proof of citizenship to vote. It's something that many countries across the earth have, and for some reason, our nation doesn't. But hopefully that will change, and hopefully in time for the midterms. All right, let's do this. Let's review some of that information, actually. I was going to go to another video, but let's go back to the Save America Act information because it's obviously one of the most important stories out there. Of course, we're tracking any details out of the Middle East when it comes to Iran, what will happen there, the armada that President Trump's talking about. Well, will there be peace? Will there be something more? We'll see how that all transpires. We also know that we're in day 3 of a partial government shutdown when it comes to Homeland Security because the Democrats want this crazy demand to reform ICE and all of that. And then on Saturday, the Epstein files released by Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, Nancy Mace, the representative out of South Carolina, saying there's still more. So there's a back and forth going on there. We're just kind of calling balls and strikes and seeing how it looks out there. And then, of course, the Save America Act is one of the top stories as well. Now, in the mainstream media world, there's a million other things going on, rightly so for Nancy Guthrie. Of course, we want her to be found, just like any missing person. But this story here, the saving our country when it comes to the Save America Act, we're one step closer. to photo ID and proof of citizenship in order to vote in federal elections. So let's do this. Let's go to President Trump's Truth Social post that we started with on the top of the broadcast, where he said the Democrats refused to vote for voter ID or citizenship. And the reason is very simple, the president says. They want to continue to cheat in elections. This was not what our founders desired. I have searched the depths of legal arguments not yet articulated or vetted on this subject, and will be presenting an irrefutable one in the very near future. So maybe that's this week, who knows? There will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not. Also, the people of our country are insisting on citizenship, so proof of citizenship, and no mail-in ballots, with exceptions for military, disability, illness, or travel. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. You know, some on the left are making this issue about personal and partisan politics instead of about a free and fair election, no matter what the governor of Pennsylvania said recently about all of this. And according to the White House, specifically SaveAmerica.gov, American citizens and only American citizens should decide American elections. It's common sense, right? The Democrats also saying, including over at the Brennan Center on this left-leaning fact-check, of course, .org, has also warned that people who have changed their name, such as a married woman, well, first of all, people who have changed their name, how about a married woman who's changed her name, may be blocked from registering to vote because of discrepancies between their ID and birth certificate. Representative Chip Roy of Texas called the idea that married women would be prevented from registering to vote, quote, absurd armchair speculation. In a statement emailed to Fact Check on February 20th, Roy said the legislation provides a myriad of ways for people to prove citizenship and explicitly directs states to establish a process for individuals to register to vote if there are discrepancies in their proof of citizenship documents due to something like a name change. All right, so a little bit of inside baseball on the Save America Act. Again, at 1:30, Robert McNeely would join us live, and we'll talk about what it will take for the Senate to pass this. Of course, the numbers there. We'll break down the numbers for you. We've gone over a number of the 24/7 news cycle stories, so why don't we do this then? At this point, let's go out of this world. How about it? Let's take a tour of the International Space Station brought to you by NASA. And why are we doing that? Well, if you're just joining us, we were going over a lot of details about Artemis 2 and orbiting the moon and the possible landing on the moon in the next couple years. So we're going to go to this video, and then we may go to the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who spoke at that Munich Security Conference. Vice President J.D. Vance saying this is a speech that we should watch. So, you know, we take note of those kind of things, and we'll probably air that here as we continue our live coverage right here on Right Side. So let's go to clip 7.
We explore because curiosity runs through our veins. It's the age-old question of what's out there.
We do research on the International Space Station because it provides a very unique and novel environment that we cannot replicate here on Earth.
Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA. Go SpaceX.
Crew 12 will live and work on board the International Space Station for a duration of 8 months.
We will be doing a wealth of scientific experiments, ranging from physiology and medical experiments to radiation, material science type experiments, deploying small satellites, you name it. Really, every aspect of science is represented in the work that we do on the International Space Station.
It's important to push the boundaries of what's possible. If we're just satisfied with what we have, we're never going to create the technology to make our lives better.
All right, so you get the idea there, of course. I know it's a little bit slower, relaxing, and a lot of you are coming for the news of the day. Well, we have a lot going on. We've been talking about it since about 12 o'clock Eastern time. Thought it'd be cool just to get a little tour of the International Space Station. Again, Artemis 2 to take off in March on the Atlantic coast. Actually, Director, can we take another live look at that? I'm not sure if we still have that live feed that we can take a look at, but we'll be going to a few of our sponsors as well. And then we'll most likely be going to Munich for the Secretary of State's replay of that speech there. And that is a live look right now on the Atlantic coast at the Kennedy Space Center of Artemis 2. That'll be taking off next month. We'll have that coverage right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as this mission will have the astronauts go orbit the moon, and then in the future, hopefully a landing right there on the moon. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. In the meantime, let's go to a few of our sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including All Family Pharmacy. Of course, if you're looking to save some money, today is the day. As you guys see right there, our sponsor, All Family Pharmacy, is running a big President's Day sale, 47% off. And this is some of their most requested medications: ivermectin, mebendazole, hydroxychloroquine, NAD+, and the GLP weight loss medication. It's a huge discount for medications that a lot of families consider essential to have on hand. And the truth is, most people, of course, they wait until they need something, and then that's the worst time to start trying to get it, because this place here has all of what you need when it comes to these medications. The sale gives you a chance to stock up while pricing is low. Once that sale ends, of course, the price goes right back up. All Family Pharmacy makes the process simple as well. You order online, you fill out a quick medical form, and one of their licensed doctors reviews your request, writes the prescription, and your medication ships straight to your door. No coupon is required, but the sale is only running until tomorrow. So you don't wait, of course, if you want to take advantage of this. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Grab the 47% off President's Day sale. Use that /RSBN at the end of allfamilypharmacy.com. All right, let's go to Angel Paste as well. Angel Paste out of Spring, Texas. And there's a lot of different miracle creams on there, whether it's coconut or all sorts of scents. You also have the mists and the lotions. So you can check it all out, angelpaste.com. Great people out of Spring, Texas, the Lone Star State. Anybody watching from Texas today, go ahead and say hello to us wherever you're watching on our live social media platforms. And a shout out to everyone watching in whatever state you're watching in, whatever place you are right now. Thanks so much for streaming in, whether it's live or on replay. But angelpaste.com, a great conservative company right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so it's 107, as you see on the screen. And also what you see is some cloudy days there. I'll tell you, down here in the southeast right now, nice and blue skies, pretty decent temperature. And of course, President Trump, a bit south of us, southeast-ish of us here in Florida, he'll be headed back to Washington, D.C. to get right back to work there. Of course, the president's working a lot, and we'll see what other developments come out of the Save America Act. The president's saying on True Social recently that he's going to be speaking specifically about securing our elections. We don't have a date yet on that. Speaking of dates, February 24th, the president will be speaking and delivering the State of the Union address. So that's going to be, next week? So we'll have that for you as well. Speaking of speaking or speeches, Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivered a speech at the Munich Security Conference. Let's go to Germany. This is a replay of his speech. And then about 1:30, we'll bring in RSBN host Robert McNeely on the phone to talk about the Save America Act and the nuts and bolts of how do we really get this thing passed and to secure our elections. Let's go from the United States over to Munich.
Particular honor and pleasure now to welcome the speaker who will represent the United States of America. Welcome, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We gather here today as members of a historic alliance, an alliance that saved and changed the world. You know, when this conference began in 1963, it was in a nation, actually it was on a continent, that was divided against itself. The line between communism and freedom ran through the heart of Germany. The first barbed fences of the Berlin Wall had gone up just 2 years prior. And just months before that first conference, before our predecessors first met here in Munich, the Cuban Missile Crisis had brought the world to the brink of nuclear destruction. Even as World War II still burned fresh in the memory of Americans and Europeans alike, we found ourselves staring down the barrel of a new global catastrophe, one with the potential for a new kind of destruction, more apocalyptic and final than anything before in the history of mankind. The time of that first gathering, Soviet communism was on the march. Thousands of years of Western civilization hung in the balance. At that time, victory was far from certain. But we were driven by a common purpose. We were unified not just by what we were fighting against. We were unified by what we were fighting for. And together, Europe and America prevailed. And a continent was rebuilt. Our people prospered. In time, the East and West blocks were reunited. A civilization was once again made whole. That infamous wall that had cleaved this nation into two came down, and with it an evil empire. And the East and West became one again. But the euphoria of this triumph led us to a dangerous delusion that we had entered, quote, the end of history, that every nation would now be a liberal democracy, that the ties formed by trade and by commerce alone would now replace nationhood, that the rules-based global order, an overused term, would now replace the national interest, and that we would now live in a world without borders where everyone became a citizen of the world. This was a foolish idea that ignored both human nature and it ignored the lessons of over 5,000 years of recorded human history. And it has cost us dearly. In this delusion, we embraced a dogmatic vision of free and unfettered trade, even as some nations protected their economies and subsidized their companies to systematically undercut ours, shuttering our plants, resulting in large parts of our societies being deindustrialized, shipping millions of working and middle-class jobs overseas, and handing control of our critical supply chains to both adversaries and rivals. We increasingly outsourced our sovereignty to international institutions while many nations invested in massive welfare states at the cost of maintaining the ability to defend themselves. This, even as other countries have invested in the most rapid military buildup in all of human history and have not hesitated to use hard power to pursue their own interests. To appease a climate cult, we have imposed energy policies on ourselves that are impoverishing our people, even as our competitors exploit oil and coal and natural gas and anything else, not just to power their economies, but to use as leverage against our own. And in a pursuit of a world without borders, we opened our doors to an unprecedented wave of mass migration that threatens the cohesion of our societies, the continuity of our culture, and the future of our people. We made these mistakes together. And now, together, we owe it to our people to face those facts and to move forward, to rebuild. Under President Trump, the United States of America will once again take on the task of renewal and restoration, driven by a vision of a future as proud, as sovereign, and as vital as our civilization's past. And while we are prepared, if necessary, to do this alone, it is our preference and it is our hope to do this together with you, our friends here in Europe. For the United States and Europe, we belong together. America was founded 250 years ago, but the roots began here on this continent long before. The men who settled and built the nation of my birth arrived on our shores carrying the memories and the traditions and the Christian faith of their ancestors as a sacred inheritance, an unbreakable link between the old world and the new. We are part of one civilization, Western civilization. We are bound to one another by the deepest bonds that nations could share, forged by centuries of shared history, Christian faith, culture, heritage, language, ancestry, and the sacrifices our forefathers made together for the common civilization to which we have fallen heir. And so this is why we Americans may sometimes come off as a little direct and urgent in our counsel. This is why President Trump demands seriousness and reciprocity from our friends here in Europe. The reason why, my friends, is because we care deeply. We care deeply about your future and ours. And if at times we disagree, our disagreements come from our profound sense of concern about a Europe with which we are connected, not just economically, not just militarily. We are connected spiritually, and we are connected culturally. We want Europe to be strong. We believe that Europe must survive. Because the two great wars of the last century serve for us as history's constant reminder that ultimately our destiny is and will always be intertwined with yours. Because we know that the fate of Europe will never be irrelevant to our own. National security, which this conference is largely about, is not merely a series of technical questions. How much we spend on defense or where, how we deploy it, these are important questions. They are. But they are not the fundamental one. The fundamental question we must answer at the outset is, what exactly are we defending? Because armies do not fight for abstractions. Armies fight for a people. Armies fight for a nation. Armies fight for a way of life. And that is what we are defending. A great civilization that has every reason to be proud of its history, confident of its future, and aims to always be the master of its own economic and political destiny. It was here, in Europe, where the ideas that planted the seeds of liberty that changed the world were born. It was here in Europe where which gave the world the rule of law, the universities, and the scientific revolution. It was this continent that produced the genius of Mozart and Beethoven, of Dante and Shakespeare, of Michelangelo and Da Vinci, of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. And this is the place where the vaulted ceilings of the Sistine Chapel and the towering spires of the great cathedral in Cologne, they testify not just to the greatness of our past or to a faith in God that inspired these marvels. They foreshadow the wonders that await us in our future. But only if we are unapologetic in our heritage and proud of this common inheritance can we together begin the work of envisioning and shaping our economic and our political future. Deindustrialization was not inevitable. It was a conscious policy choice, a decades-long economic undertaking that stripped our nations of their wealth, of their productive capacity, and of their independence. And the loss of our supply chain sovereignty was not a function of a prosperous and healthy system of global trade. It was foolish. It was a foolish but voluntary transformation of our economy that left us dependent on others for our needs and dangerously vulnerable to crisis. Mass migration isn't some fringe concern of little consequence. It was and continues to be a crisis which is transforming and destabilizing societies all across the West. Together, we can reindustrialize our economies and rebuild our capacity to defend our people. But the work of this new alliance should not be focused just on military cooperation and reclaiming the industries of the past. It should also be focused on together advancing our mutual interests in new frontiers, unshackling our ingenuity, our creativity, and the dynamic spirit to build a new Western century. commercial space travel and cutting-edge artificial intelligence, industrial automation and flex manufacturing, creating a Western supply chain for critical minerals not vulnerable to extortion from other powers, and a unified effort to compete for market share in the economies of the global South. Together, we can not only take back control of our own industries and supply chains, we can prosper in the areas that will define the 21st century. But we must also gain control of our national borders. Controlling who and how many people enter our countries, this is not an expression of xenophobia, it is not hate. It is a fundamental act of national sovereignty. And the failure to do so is not just an abdication of one of our most basic duties owed to our people. It is an urgent threat to the fabric of our societies and the survival of our civilization itself. And finally, we can no longer place the so-called global order above the vital interests of our people and our nations. We do not need to abandon the system of international cooperation we authored, and we don't need to dismantle the global institutions of the old order that together we built. But these must be reformed. These must be rebuilt. For example, the United Nations still has tremendous potential to be a tool for good in the world. But we cannot ignore that today, on the most pressing matters before us, it has no answers and has played virtually no role. It could not solve the war in Gaza. Instead, it was American leadership that freed captives from barbarians and brought about a fragile truce. It has not solved the war in Ukraine. It took American leadership in partnership with many of the countries here today just to bring the two sides to the table in search of a still elusive peace. It was powerless to constrain the nuclear program of radical Shia clerics in Tehran. That required 14 bombs dropped with precision from American B-2 bombers. And it was unable to address the threat to our security from a narco-terrorist dictator in Venezuela. Instead, it took American special forces to bring this fugitive to justice. In a perfect world, all of these problems and more would be solved by diplomats and strongly worded resolutions. But we do not live in a perfect world. And we cannot continue to allow those who blatantly and openly threaten our citizens and endanger our global stability to shield themselves behind abstractions of international law which they themselves routinely violate. This is the path that President Trump and the United States has embarked upon. It is the path we ask you here in Europe to join us on. It is a path we have walked together before and hope to walk together again. For 5 centuries, before the end of the Second World War, the West had been expanding. Its missionaries, its pilgrims, its soldiers, its explorers pouring out from its shores to cross oceans, settle new continents, build vast empires extending out across the globe. But in 1945, for the first time since the age of Columbus, it was contracting. Europe was in ruins. Half of it lived behind an iron curtain, and the rest looked like it would soon follow. The great Western empires had entered into terminal decline, accelerated by godless communist revolutions and by anti-colonial uprisings that would transform the world and drape the red hammer and sickle across vast swaths of the map in the years to come. Against that backdrop, then as now, many came to believe that the West's age of dominance had come to an end, and that our future was destined to be a faint and feeble echo of our past. But together, our predecessors recognized that decline was a choice, and it was a choice they refused to make. This is what we did together once before, and this is what President Trump and the United States want to do again now, together with you. And this is why we do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weaker. We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. And this is why we do not want allies to rationalize the broken status quo rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline. We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilization in human history. What we want is a reinvigorated alliance that recognizes that what has ailed our societies is not just a set of bad policies, but a malaise of hopelessness and complacency. The alliance that we want is one that is not paralyzed into inaction by fear. Fear of climate change, fear of war, fear of technology. Instead, we want an alliance that boldly races into the future. And the only fear we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children. An alliance ready to defend our people, to safeguard our interests, and to preserve the freedom of action that allows us to shape our own destiny. Not one that exists to operate a global welfare state and atone for the purported sins of past generations. An alliance that does not allow its power to be outsourced, constrained, or subordinated to systems beyond its control. One that does not depend on others for the critical necessities of its national life. And one that does not maintain the polite pretense that our way of life is just one among many, and that asks for permission before it acts. And above all, an alliance based on the recognition that we, the West, have inherited together. What we have inherited together is something that is unique and distinctive and irreplaceable. Because this, after all, is the very foundation of the transatlantic bond. Acting together in this way, we will not just help recover a sane foreign policy. It will restore to us a clear sense of ourselves. It will restore a place in the world. And in so doing, it will rebuke and deter the forces of civilizational erasure that today menace both America and Europe alike. So in a time of headlines heralding the end of the transatlantic era, let it be known and clear to all that this is neither our goal nor our wish. Because for us Americans, our home may be in the Western Hemisphere, but we will always be a child of Europe.
All right, so we saw a portion of the speech there by the Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the Munich Security Conference. Of course, over the past couple days there. You could watch that in its entirety, of course, if you'd like, online, as the Secretary of State Marco Rubio wrapped up, of course, that speech at the Munich Security Conference. We're also following some developing news at this hour. We're following the fact that the actor Robert Duvall has died at the age of 95. So Robert Duvall, of course, starred in The Godfather and many other films out there as well. So Robert Duvall has died at the age of 95. Other news stories that we're looking at within this 24/7 news cycle today is day 3 of the partial government shutdown, as Democrats are holding out until they get their demands met to reform immigration and customs enforcement within the Department of Homeland Security. And of course, as someone said this morning, it seems like leftists want to vote like a liberal, but live like a conservative with all of the protections, with all the walls and all of that out there. On Saturday, of course, the DOJ released more Epstein files. We went over some of that earlier. Meanwhile, we're keeping an eye on the Middle East as our military is in position to possibly make a move in Iran, depending how talks go with the Islamic Republic. So some stories that are happening out there, of course, leading this segment right now with that latest news when it comes to the entertainment world. Actor Robert Duvall has died at the age of 95. Let's go to some of our great sponsors here as we get ready to go to a live interview coming up. You may have seen the conversations happening online lately. The censorship is back, and it's happening, unfortunately, everywhere. Platforms are controlling narratives and pushing the stuff they don't want us to see. We need to fight back in this information area and in the financial area. Rumble is the only company that has stood the test of time and deserves our support. On one side, Rumble is challenging big tech censorship, but now on the other side, they have introduced something that will give us protection from the big banks shutting us off. Banks can cancel our accounts and freeze our cards, so that's why Rumble has launched Rumble Wallet, a wallet that no one can cancel and a wallet that supporters can use to instantly tip creators like us without any middleman taking cuts. So Rumble Wallet, with this great new sponsor, you can control your money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company, not even Rumble can touch it. And it's yours, only yours to protect your future and family. You can buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin and Tether Gold in just one place. Tether Gold is real gold on the blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. It's not only a wallet to buy and save, but it also allows you to support your favorite creators by easily tipping them with the click of a button. There will be no fees when you tip our channel or others, and we actually receive the tip instantly, unlike other platforms where we have to wait for these payouts. You can support our show and other creators by clicking the tip button on our Rumble channel. It's wallet.rumble.com is the place to go. So you could download this Rumble wallet today. You open an account and step away from the big banks for good. Wallet.rumble.com, or you can search Rumble Wallet in the app stores, or go to that QR code that you see on the screen. As it's the bottom of the hour, 1:30 Eastern time here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's also go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, the RSBN promo code goes a long way when you have some great products as well. It's a win-win when it comes to MyPillow. Great products, great person, and Mike Lindell, of course, running for governor in Minnesota, and then great products, and then you get the discount. So it's a lot of wins when it comes to MyPillow. So mypillow.com/RSBN, you can save with that RSBN promo code. All right, so 1:31 Eastern time. Again, we went over a lot of the developing news that's happening out there, the stories that we're tracking. Let's do this. Let's go to a 250th birthday video for our country. Let's go to clip 6 as the United States Navy is celebrating every step of the way.
For 250 years, the United States Navy has protected our nation, but it's also shaped the way we live, work, and connect through engineering and science. At the heart of this innovation is the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory, or NRL. Let's look at 5 everyday technologies made possible by Navy research. In the 1960s, NRL launched the Timation satellite, proving atomic clocks in space could pinpoint location on Earth. That breakthrough helped build the GPS we now use every day. NRL's early battery research in the 1970s helped lead to lithium-ion technology. This technology proved to be an important power source for the Navy's unmanned systems, but also powering your phone, laptop, and electric car. NRL created the U.S.'s first radar system in 1939. Today, radar keeps planes flying safely, tracks storms, and yes, even clocks your speed on the highway. NRL developed radio frequency over fiber technology, creating a secure, high-speed way to move information and connect military platforms and systems around the world, laying the groundwork for high-speed internet and global video calls. NRL launched its first in a line of scientific satellites to understand the space environment and change the way the Navy communicates and operates. This research evolved into satellite television, international calls, and broadband around the globe. From the depths of the ocean to the far reaches of space. NRL continues to lead in discovery, developing technologies that serve the fleet and the world. As the Navy celebrates 250 years, we honor the science and engineering that moves us forward. NRL, advancing science and technology for the Navy and our nation.
All right, so if you've been watching since about 12 Eastern time, of course, 9 o'clock out there on the West Coast, we've been talking a lot about the SAVE Act here, the Save America Act, obviously something that is common sense out there for us when it comes to voter ID, photo ID, proof of citizenship, all the things. So let's bring in RSBN host Robert McNeely. Of course, you know him here as he's in Studio B at various shifts. Robert, thanks again for joining us on Right Side. Happy President's Day to you as well. And when we look at the Save America Act, what are your thoughts, just 30,000 foot view on that act?
Purchase things to use on a daily basis, and I'm just rather disgusted at the Democrat Party and this continued ignorance, and truly, I believe it's done on purpose. Why do they think that minorities and women simply cannot obtain an ID? It's a rather ridiculous argument, and I find it rather disparaging. I think that a number of people are just tired of their rhetoric.
I agree 100%. You hit it right on the head there, and that's they're anti-common sense, it seems, aren't they?
Well, yes, and you see, it all kind of ties into this linchpin of illegal immigration, our censuses, all of these new maps that are being redrawn at these congressional levels. And whether it's Texas to California, all the way to North Carolina and everywhere in between, the fact that you have, in certain situations, non-citizens being registered through motor voter, like we saw in Illinois, and like we've seen in municipal elections from New York City all the way out to San Francisco, it truly waters down the citizens' right to that one person, one vote, and that dignity within the electorate.
It's wild to see all of the anti-common sense work that's trying to be done. I mean, I would say the majority of the country, and there are some Democrats, aren't there people out there that saying, yeah, we want free and fair elections. Sure, let's do this, right? Haven't you seen that?
Well, that's the irony, is that if you look at all these Pew Research, for example, over 70% of registered Democrats in America want some form of voter ID and integrity. So it's truly the Democrat politicians, with perhaps the exception of Senator John Fetterman in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that want free and fair elections. It's over 95% of Republicans, according to that same research, and you're seeing the vast amount of Americans, Republican, Democrat, Independent alike, that want voter identification and integrity in the elections.
So most of the people watching this broadcast, whether live or on replay, are already on the side of, hey, let's get the Save America Act passed. We want to show our ID. We want to prove our citizenship if that's the situation that arises. So we know last week that the United States House of Representatives passed the legislation 217 to 213, and we now know when Congress gets back into a session that it's in the Senate's hands. What does it take for this to get to President Trump's desk? And then hopefully you or I are covering an event where we see President Trump signing that into law.
Now, Speaker Johnson's been very clear on this as well, speaking on behalf of Senate Majority Leader John Thune, and the integrity of keeping the rules-based institution. The Senate's somewhat different, of course, than the House, with, in some cases, like a vote like this, they're looking for that 60 vote threshold and preserving the filibuster. But in turn, there might be a rules package that could be re-amended, and you would then have a simple majority to pass this. And the argument being that if we don't get this through, then you won't have that integrity. You'll have those questions, and both sides of the aisle will ultimately be upset, taking it away from, again, that integrity of one vote, one person. And it's really something that I think Republican leadership really has to take seriously as a legacy item.
So if someone's watching right now and they really want that real simple way to understand this, and I have questions about it as well. So is it 53 to 47? Obviously, there are 100 United States senators. So we have the majority of 53 to 47, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So is that all that's needed? So then one of the Democrats could start a filibuster process where they have to debate for a long time, and then it goes to that 60 vote. Can you break down some of those basics for us? So because I think it's really worth understanding how this process is going to work, because again, the Save America Act is a must-have for our country.
Right, absolutely. And we saw that the filibuster was once set a record by Strom Thurmond, who was doing that against the Civil Rights Amendment. And until he ultimately had his own conversion with that in the late 80s, early 90s, held that record until Mr. Spartacus himself from New Jersey, the Senator Cory Booker, decided to go there and hit the ground running. So the filibuster in and of itself, once you begin that process, you have to speak on that floor continuously until that filibuster comes to an end. So you can have a team of senators, you can have just one senator in and of themselves. And historically, you've had situations where you've had members of the Senate actually there with diapers on and having meals brought to them in order to continue that, and would stay up well into the early morning hours. So you have that certain packages are required to pass that 60 vote threshold. This would be one of them, unless it is, again, re-amended and changed. We saw this actually with the Democrat leader, the late Harry Reid from Nevada, actually approached this with judges. Ironically, it actually ended up benefiting the Republicans when they came to power, especially under President Trump, with over 300 plus federal judges appointed in that first term, including, of course, 3 justices to the United States Supreme Court. So it's really a simple rules change, but for the institutionalists like John Thune, they want to recognize the tradition and getting bipartisan legislation across that board, if that makes sense. So simply that the Senate can have a robust amount behind a movement, behind a specific bill, so that you can have people on both sides of the aisle supporting it.
All right, so just to flesh out this one question again. So once this legislation, the Save America Act, gets to the United States Senate, can't there just be a simple vote on the legislation? And we know that we have, 49 or 50 United States Republican senators that have already signed up for this. They're already saying they're going to vote for it. So we're looking to get those few. I guess there's a few holdouts now, I think, as well. Lisa Murkowski, isn't she one of them? So it seems like it's those few that really should just get on the right side of history, it seems like, right?
Well, you usually have people like Senator Murkowski in Alaska and Senator Collins in Maine, and of course, more purple jurisdictions, but also playing their own games in their own right in Washington, D.C. And then you would have to have the tiebreak, which will ultimately be the president of the Senate, Vice President J.D. Vance. But once again, it all depends if the majority leader and leadership want to make that rules package amended and changed in order to move forward with it. I think it would probably behoove them to do that, because that's why they were sent to Washington in the first place, for the integrity of the elections. And what this really does ultimately, at least the House version of it, is simply make sure that non-citizens are off the rolls, that you have to show that voter ID and a proof of citizenship. So it's rather simple because, again, how many things do we use that to do on a regular basis in order to conduct our daily lives as citizens of the United States?
Exactly. And then on top of that, if we look at a number of countries across the earth, these other countries have a voter ID system in place, proof of citizenship. So we're kind of behind on something that is so valuable is our vote. And speaking of votes, I understand that you interviewed a Republican gubernatorial candidate in Illinois. Can you tell us about that as we get ready to go to that interview?
Right. Rick Heidner is actually a businessman. He's running for governor, and we've seen more of that ever since President Trump came on the scene. Of course, the last Republican governor of Illinois was a businessman himself, Bruce Rauner. He moved down to Florida, and it was a term there was some success, but sadly, a lot of failures. And he at the time faced really an immovable object, which was the former House Speaker Mike Madigan, who served 50 plus years. He's the longest serving House Speaker in the country, and someone who was actually federally indicted on a number of charges. So something we never thought we would see, because he outlasted 7 governors in Illinois history and had the nickname the real governor of Illinois. So it's an interesting thing to watch because, not to speak for the Heidner campaign, but someone who is trying to approach this with common sense from everything he's come on the scene with, using his own fortune to run this campaign. And an important note, too, with the Save America Act is the fact that this does not take away states and county clerk rights. So usually secretaries of state, county clerks running our elections. That's a big part of our federalist system. So this is not a takeover of elections to the federal government. This is simply having a uniformity and pushing back against the motor voter that signed up countless for driver's license and CDLs when they may not have been citizens way back, the states all the way back to the Clinton administration.
Exactly. It's just one step closer, passing in the House to the Senate. It's photo ID, proof of citizenship. And the White House actually created a portion of their website, saveamerica.gov, for those of you that would like to check that out. RSBN host Robert McNeely joining us live right now. Let's go now to an interview that Robert conducted recently with the gubernatorial candidate out of Illinois, Rick Heidner.
Welcome to RSBN. Rick Heidner, Republican gubernatorial candidate for the great state of Illinois, and a great day to join the network, sir, because it is Abraham Lincoln's 217th birthday. And what we learned from him is that a house divided against itself cannot stand. And I believe, as the man who signed his name, A. Lincoln, once stated, that this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. And the problem in Illinois, a pension crisis that has led to debt, and more debt. And truly, the people of Illinois, sadly, a slave to the lender. How will you, as governor of Illinois, perhaps reverse course?
Well, the pension fund obviously is just a humongous problem. And unfortunately, I absolutely believe that these are people that we promised things to. These are people that worked for their pension. And so I feel we're absolutely obligated to live up to that. Pension buyout, that's a way, something that we could look at. But my biggest thing with that is that anything going forward, so in other words, anybody that wants to come to work for Illinois, any part of the government, I think we have to change the program. We have to change the age of people getting pensions, how many years they have to work. When all this was done so many years ago, people lived a lot fewer years. And obviously, with some of these increases that keep happening, they just can't keep happening. So we have to put a stop to it. If a new policeman wants to come to work for us, if a new fireman wants to come to work for us, whatever that new program is, whatever we can negotiate, at least they'll know what they're getting into and they can make their choice. But the people that earned it and we're obligated to pay, somehow we're going to have to pay that. My plan is to make Illinois an awful lot more money, and also to cut out all the horrible waste that we have. And I imagine when I get in there and I start looking through every single solitary department, I think we're going to find a lot of savings. We went from $38 billion a year budget when J.B. Pritzker got into office, and now we're at $55 billion, $56 billion. And there's just a lot of waste there. And we have to fix things. We have to stop any kind of incompetence and any kind of things that are wasteful or being stolen. And I think we'll save there. And then we want to bring a lot of business in here and make a lot more money just with our regular taxes.
Will this mirror anything similar to that of former Governor Scott Walker just north of the border? We saw how he reformed things in Wisconsin when it came to pension liabilities, the unions, and also simply doing business there in the Dairyland. We know that during his tenure, the last Republican governor of Illinois, Bruce Rauner, attempted some of those reforms with consolidation, amongst other things. How would that look for you as you seek to cut the waste, fraud, and abuse in Illinois government? Does that involve audits, or how would you take your business background to make this state government slimmer and to take down the size and scope of the government?
Yeah, absolutely. It will be by audit, okay? And it'll be department by department by department. Each individual department will be completely looked at, completely scrutinized. And if there's anybody there doing anything wrong, they should get the heck out of there before I get in office, because there will be hell to pay. And if I find the same things that we're finding in like Minnesota and California and other states, those people are going to have a real problem. And I'm really afraid we are going to find that. And then just the waste and on top of the waste, there's just so many examples of it. And, all that has to stop. Sanctuary state has to stop. Us housing and giving money to all these illegal immigrants. The Safety Act has to go away. There's just a lot of things the first day that we have to do to just reel everything back in and have some common sense and a lot of business sense. That's what I want to bring to the governor's office.
Yes, the Safety Act also not far away in Minnesota, $19 billion known in fraud when it comes to child care services, something that could be actually happening under the Pritzker administration right there in the prairie state of Illinois. But also under this governor's tenure, you have roughly 4,500 Chicagoans who have been gunned down in violence, whether it be from criminal illegal aliens or simple gang activity. And you have a governor so focused on sharpening attacks on a president and being political rather than solving problems for not only Chicago, but the whole of Illinois. In addition to all of that, you have a skyrocketing pension crisis, as we mentioned, but also debt upon debt that has gone far beyond his predecessors. How do you seek to focus on reversing all of that, especially public safety in the state of Illinois?
First day Safety Act is going to be gone, okay? Again, sanctuary state completely gone. We're going to turn over every single illegal immigrant alien here that is a felon, that is that comes from these other countries. They're in our police stations. I've talked to the police, and they're not allowed to turn any of these people over to ICE or the federal government. This is the biggest reason I ran, okay? Because I absolutely couldn't stand to see all these people getting hurt. I decided to run before that poor girl got set on fire. 71 times you've got a guy that has been arrested and he's out with an ankle bracelet. Nobody's monitoring him, and he sets this poor girl on fire. The thing that happened at Louis Vuitton, the guy that killed that poor man that was going to work. And by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, it was his last day of work before 5 a.m. They robbed Louis Vuitton for $700,000 worth of merchandise. They get in their cars, they take off, all these people, and then they killed some poor guy going to work. His last day of work before he's going on maternity leave. His fiance, we'll call her wife, had the baby the next day. I mean, can you imagine? And he works at Northwestern Hospital, and he's dead. If 10 times the person that hit him had been arrested for a crime, if we have these people held accountable, things like this wouldn't happen. If we could have just turned over to ICE and to the federal government all these people that we knew where they were, these hardened criminals, these rapists, these murderers, these pedophiles, ICE would have been out of, I think, Illinois in 6 to 8 weeks. Instead, now they have to herd people. And it's just terrible what's happening here in the state of Illinois. Just so someone can prominence themselves, so they can run on Jimmy Kimmel and run on Colbert and want to run for president because he thinks this is what the people want to hear. And it's sinful, it's shameful, it's hurtful.
And that young woman, Bethany McGee, being released from the hospital finally as a burn victim, and thank God that she's alive. What a terrible, horrific story, 26 years old, and you're simply using that CTA line to commute, as I once did during my years in Chicago. Just frightening to think about asking for privacy at this time. Now, Rick, your background is in many businesses, including the gambling world, and your office actually being regulated by that of the governor ultimately. And you're a Trump Republican, as you've identified yourself in this race, but relatively unknown. There are some criticisms out there regarding past donations to other politicians, including Democrats. What say you about those items, and perhaps would Republican voters in Illinois want to vote for you given that gambling business background?
So, legalized gambling came in 2010. Nobody put out a machine to 2012. I was one of the very first few to get licensed. I'm the third largest in the state without buying any companies after I put out my first machine. And that's all homegrown and doing very good business for my customers. So I don't know exactly what I could say about that business. I could tell you that J.B. Pritzker has raised my tax since he's been in office 17%, like he's raised so many of our taxes. I'm a businessman, and that's one of my four major businesses. Again, started with absolutely nothing. I mean, it was a son of a maid with no father, and raised by my mom, my brother and I were, and built a big company, built quite a few big companies. I pay about $4 million a week in taxes. I'm not talking about income tax, but I generate all these taxes for the state of Illinois through all my companies, and employ 800 people and tens of thousands of jobs from the things that I've created. We have 280 buildings in 12 states with 800 tenants. And I'm a creator and I'm a builder, and I've done it from a nickel, an absolute nickel. So as far as my donations go, I do business in Illinois. I've been developing here for 45 years. I've been in my own business for almost 50 years. I have Democratic friends and I have Republican friends, and I'm going to tell you something. This is the best thing that's happened because I'm going to have an open door policy, and a tremendous amount of politicians respect me, and I respect a lot of politicians. And I don't care if you're a Democrat, and I don't care if you're Republican. You come inside my office when I'm governor, if you have a great idea and it makes sense to me, we're going to talk. First thing we're going to talk about, though, is term limits, because no one should be able to be governor here in Illinois or anywhere in the state, in the country, more than 2 terms. If J.B. Pritzker had a 2-term limit, I wouldn't have had to run. When I looked at the playing field here in Illinois and who was running as Republicans, I just knew in my heart that there's just no one in that playing field that could beat him. So this is why I ran. But I'm going to be able to get along with the Republicans. I'm going to be able to get along with the Democrats. Yes, I've given money to both sides. And I'm going to have an open door policy. And I've had a lot of Democratic politicians call me on the phone and tell me they are thrilled that I'm running, can't wait till I win, and can't wait to work with me.
Well, we've seen that too with President Trump, who did the exact same thing as a private businessman, and how he's turning the country around. So there's no doubt about that. Rick Heidner, where can we find your campaign, as early voting already underway for the St. Patrick's Day, March 17th primary in the Prairie State of Illinois? Very fitting considering the great celebration of St. Patrick's Day in Chicago.
So rickforillinois.com. And I ask all of our citizens to do something. This is such an important race, and I really want you to know me. So if you go on that, and you'll be able to read an article at the Quintessential Barrington that's out there that they did on me on their 20th anniversary. And there's also a 5.5 minute clip from The American Dream. It's a TV program that I did years ago with Eric Roberts. And I asked the people of Illinois, please spend an hour on each candidate. Please spend 2 hours. I'm not afraid of it. I want you to know who I am. I want you to know where I came from. And I want you to know what I built and what I'm going to build for the state of Illinois. I mean, you need to invest this time, and you need to understand, and you need to get out in that primary vote and vote, hopefully for me, and know that I'm going to do everything in my power to beat J.B. Pritzker on November the 3rd.
And as we're watching right now, many polls indicating that low propensity and low turnout for the primary, and it is just that, with over 50% of expected Republican primary voters undecided right now. So this is wide open. Rick Heidner, thank you again for joining us. Running for Illinois governor, please come back and see us again on the right side of history.
Thank you, Robert. Can't wait to speak with you again, especially when I win. Thank you.
All right, before you know it, it will be midterm election season, and we'll see who wins where when it comes to various gubernatorial races. Of course, we saw right there with Mr. Heidner, great interview by Robert McNeely, as it's 1:59, approaching the top of the hour. Before we go, we have a couple sponsors to talk about, and we'll close out with a pretty cool video as well. So our sponsor, All Family Pharmacy, is running this huge President's Day sale, 47% off some of their most requested medications: ivermectin, mebendazole, hydroxychloroquine, NAD+, and the GLP weight loss medication. It's a huge discount for medications that a lot of families consider essential to have on hand. So the truth is, a lot of people out there wait until they need something, and that's not the greatest time to start trying to get it. So this sale gives you a chance to stock up while pricing is low. Once the sale ends, which is tomorrow, the price goes right back up. All Family Pharmacy makes the process simple. You order online, fill out a quick medical form, and one of their licensed doctors reviews your request, writes the prescription, and your medication ships straight to your door. So there's no coupon required, but the sale is only running until tomorrow, Tuesday, February 17th, so today and tomorrow. So don't wait. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Grab that 47% off President's Day sale before it ends. It is 2 o'clock on the East Coast. That's 11 o'clock out there on the West Coast. If you'd like to donate to us, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. Also, another great way is the Rumble Wallet. We talked about that earlier in the broadcast. Use the Rumble Wallet for the tip jar, as it's 2:01 Eastern Time. Again, thank you for watching here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, you're in the Midwest, whether you're Mountain Time Zone, Central Time Zone, wherever you're watching from, and in some cases around the earth, watching Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for streaming in with us. It's been 10 years plus here at this network when it comes to all of the information that you need when it comes to President Trump's speeches and showing the crowds, and now into conservative news and covering the president. A lot going on. Of course, today's a federal holiday. We'll be right back at it here tomorrow. So for all of us at RSBN, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for live streaming in. Let's take a look at a Freedom 250 video, and then the broadcast will close for the day.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.